Okay, I suspect everybody has found their seats. I'd like to, on behalf of the Welcoming and Inclusive Community Project for Delta, I'd like to invite all of you here today, welcome all of you here this morning. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Doug Saber and I'm with Delta Assist and I'm one of the community partners planning and assisting with the Welcoming and Inclusive Communities Project. And I'd first like to call upon Elder Ruth Adams to come forward and to start our day with a prayer. And I've got a few things to say about Elder Ruth. And she's been at a number of our meetings. And just to give you a brief overview, that the elders hold a special place in First Nations culture. And the elders are the carriers of the memories and the life experiences which are critical to the culture. I'm pleased to introduce Elder Ruth, who's been with us for so many times. It's great to have you here again. Who's an elder of the Tsawwassen First Nation community. She's currently active, involved in all TFN community events and meetings. She currently sits on the Tsawwassen First Nations Advisory Council, is the circle leader of the Hummingbird Ministries Council, and locally Ruth is involved with the Heritage Advisory Commission and the Safe Route Tsawwassen. And one of Ruth's proudest moments was when the TFN community members voted and ratified the treaty, and she was quoted as saying, "I feel good for my ancestors who couldn't do this, and for my grandchildren who can be proud of who they are." And prior, and I think that's what I'm going to say. And Ruth, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
So on behalf of my ancestors, I welcome you all here to Tsawwassen First Nation traditional territory. And I'd like to say, just to let you know, because I do this and I wear my regalia like this, it is for my ancestors, but it is to bring the children up to today that they don't have, they can be proud of who they are. So my name from my grandmother is Questania, and that comes from Nanaimo. So my welcome comes from Nanaimo. And my father is from Ste'elis, it's Chehalis in the English language. That's up near Harrison Mills, the Sasquatch people. And my name there is Stepson. And my husband comes from Katesy, so the welcome comes from all of those places. So, and I sing Chief Dan George's song usually. And so you've got a welcome from Tsleil-Waututh. So I bring all of that to you here today. All of the history that I have is yours now. And I've given it all to you. By telling you all of this, then you can say, well, I know somebody and I got friends in all of those different places. Okay, so I'll do my prayer. This is really my biggest thrill to do the prayer. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Dear Creator, thank you for this beautiful day. Thank you for this beautiful place and all of these friendly faces sitting here before me today, wanting to be good neighbors and to bring their communities into a healthy, welcoming, safe place that we can all visit each other on. So I ask you to bless the work that we do here in this room, and to bless all of the families of all of these dear people, and myself included. Bless our children, our grandchildren, for me, my great-grandchildren. Bless all of them as we do the work to make their lives better. Bless all of the work for our families, for our communities, and for this great BC and Canada. And this comes from all of the First Nations, Inuit and Métis. When I stand here, dear Lord, I don't just stand here for Tsawwassen First Nation. I stand here for all of us, so that everyone can get to know all of us, and that we are not divided, we are together. And we in this room are not divided, we are together. We are all family on this land. And thank you, dear Lord, for the ancestors, for keeping this land that we live on, Tsawwassen First Nation. And thank you for the traditional territories that we will start to educate all the First Nations and all of our neighbors on, dear Lord. Please bless that work that I will be doing to help to educate people on the traditional territories and how we all sit together in BC and in Canada. So I thank you, dear Lord, for giving me this gift for my grandfather to be able to speak and to be able to bring people together in a way that you have done in the old Bible days and that I'm trying to do in the new Bible days of today. So I thank you for the blessings that you've given to me and my family and all those that I pray for each and every day, which Delta is included in those prayers, because I've always wanted to be a person that would bring us together. So thank you, dear Lord, for bringing me here. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. All my relations to all of us. Thank you for letting me come. It's a really big thrill for me because all those things I say in prayer always get answered. So they're very strong prayers because my heart is in there and I can feel all of your hearts. I can feel all of them. I know how you feel, and I'm very honored to get that emotion from all of this. Thank you very much, all my relations.
Thank you very much, Elder Ruth. And you mentioned Chief Dan George, and I realized, for me personally, my journey through the Welcoming Inclusive Communities program actually began with and created an understanding for me that when I was a kid growing up on the North Shore in traditional Tsleil-Waututh territory and Squamish territory, Chief Dan George was an honorary faculty member at my high school. And Chief Dan George and his son Leonard would come to our high school and teach us the dances and the stories and the song of the traditional peoples, and they would bring elders into our school. And I think probably in the 60s, that was kind of a unique thing. And whenever we had any kind of assembly or gathering in our school, there was always an elder there to bring a prayer and to create sort of sacred space for our gatherings. And that was a wonderful gift of Chief Dan George. And I don't know whether that still continues with that school, but it was a wonderful gift for us. And it's wonderful to hear you this morning, and thank you. I think that I originally thought that Miriam, did you want to give the overview? Would you like me to do the overview? Okay, thank you. I never met a microphone I didn't like. I just want to tell you that, just so as you know. And they're going to have to have a great big hook to pull me out of here. So I wanted to tell you why we're meeting today. Why are we coming together in this place at this time? Well, the Delta Welcoming and Inclusive Community Program Summit brings together a number of people in the community that have been involved over the last 15 months with the program. It's a half day. It's from 11 to 3, but it's a chance for us to celebrate the many things that have been accomplished in this community, but also as a legacy to explore ideas and practices to make Delta a more welcoming and inclusive community for all. It's also a chance again for service providers to look at partnerships to move forward. We're going to be transitioning. This is the end. We've had 15 months worth of provincial government, thank you. Is going to be transitioning to a new initiative called the Local Immigration Partnership, LIP. Those of us who have been around a long time will remember the old LIP program of the 60s. The Local Immigration Partnership Program. Today's summit is an opportunity to learn more about the program and to explore the future opportunities and to extend your partnership with the local Local Immigration Partnership Program. And one of the things we're going to be doing later this morning is launching the new neighborhood guide that was prepared and developed out of this program. And I think you'll agree when you see it, it's a fabulous resource for all of us, not just for people in human services, education, and health, but also for people in businesses, people that are involved with all aspects of community life here in Delta. And I think that, I don't think I should go into a long kind of description of this. I think we're going to ask Sharan Gill to do that as part of his presentation. So everybody has received a package today, which is full of all sorts of goodies. And Sharan pointed out that someone rummaged through his desk and took all his really good pens. Yeah. So you know how you usually get those real crappy little kind of plastic pens that say, you know, Eat at Joe's or something? We've got the really good Sharan Gill Memorial pens from Pix. So Sharan, thank you so much. Pix gives good pen. I just want you to know that Pix, you know, really well known for all sorts, their wonderful services and all the things that they do, but they're also really well known for their great pens, and you'll get to take home 1 or 2 with you today. So take as many, anyway, take your pen. The other thing that you're going to find is a bunch of information on what we found about newcomers and what newcomers' interests and needs are. And Ann Peterson is going to be giving us a presentation about that later on. And now I have the very distinct pleasure and honor of introducing our friend Sharan Gill, who is currently the Chief Executive Officer of the Progressive Intercultural Community Services Association. And Sharan is a man that is well known in our community for his leadership. He's well known not only in the Lower Mainland, Metro Vancouver, he is known provincially and he is known nationally. And in fact, not so long ago, Sharan was honored by our professional association, the Canadian Association of Social Workers, as Social Worker of the Year in Canada. Wow. I mean, it's a remarkable honor for a remarkable man. And Sharan has said that he's going to speak for 1 minute. I've known Sharan for 40 years. He's not going to speak for 1 minute. He's incapable of speaking for 1 minute. But he's one of our greatest Canadians, and I'm very pleased to have him here.
I will take 2-3 minutes now, since you allowed me. Well, on behalf of Pix, I want to welcome you all. It's such a nice gathering, such a nice day. And I also recognize we are on Tsawwassen First Nation territory, and we got really nice blessings. And it made me feel like sunny outside, sunny inside. It made me feel very good. And I also am proud to have a partnership with Delta Assist. Not only Doug and I were class fellow in UBC. I won't tell you how many years ago. But we have a very good friendship, and with Delta Assist, our partnership worked so well, and many others. And Devinder, Miriam, and Gurpreet worked very hard. I would recognize that. Like Doug had been involved with this project, but I was in the background, and they were there doing all the works. I saw that work. It's fantastic. I agree with you. This one is very good guide. You know, they put together, and also I never knew much about Delta. Since we started working with Delta Assist and guide and talk to these workers, I know much more about Delta and its history. Anyways, I think we love to work in partnership, and we're proud to have a partnership with Delta Assist. And we have many other partnerships which will be recognized later. And PIX is an organization which first started, just briefly, to work with South Asians because of the immigrants or gaps in services. I was a social worker at the time, and we put together 26 years ago with $80. You know, 10 friends got together, 8 friends got together, put $10 each, and we worked our way up. Now we have seniors housing, we have Harmony House for women fleeing from violence from their partners. Then we have 2 seniors housing. Our assets now, I'm proud to say, about 24 million. And our regular budget is around 9 million. So it had grown very big. The reason for it's grown because I was lucky to have good workers with me. They work very hard. I just, as a commander, I do command, do this, do that, you know, I supervise, that's all I do. But anyways, but one thing for sure, I have to provide leadership in our community. Now, again, there's one thing we feel that culturally appropriate services are needed sometimes for immigrant population, because some people, like South Asian people, have roti, chicken curry, and this kind of stuff, lentils. And when they go to generic homes, they don't get it. They felt very sad. They are not too happy with that. So we provide culturally appropriate services in 2 homes, and we have bilingual, bicultural workers. Our home came second in BC in terms of satisfaction ratio and cleanliness and altogether. If you go there, just like Doug has been there, many people have been there, just like a 5-star hotel. So we are pleased to have that kind of home. Now we are building on 22nd of March, we are doing fundraising for long-term care. We feel that long-term care, so our people are sitting in emergency rooms, plugging emergency rooms, and also scattered all over. And sometimes they don't have people who can speak the language. They don't have food they used to eat. So we feel that that's a also necessary thing to do. PICS is built on meeting needs of the community. Whatever needs is, we try to fulfill it. There's a last, Doug said to me when I'm going to retire, when I build this home, then I will retire. So I want to retire. I want to go around and get out. It's quite a responsibility people sometimes don't know. Being, you say, executive director, a CEO, even the board, even the staff depends on you, and you have to guide them, love them, respect them. So all these kind of things you got to do to make a team really working together and working hard. So I'm proud to say that our people are so good. I don't have to work that hard, but I have to still work long hours. But because of these workers, if you have a good workers, you don't have to worry at all. You can sit back. So anyways, this event, I congratulate you, all of you, all our partners who come here today, and especially the workers who did a wonderful job, and also became very inclusive. We try to do that, but sometimes it doesn't happen. But anyways, things are changing. When Doug and I used to work with social work at the department in the Ministry of Social Services, we know they changed the title of Ministry of Social Services, Ministry this and that, 6 times. They spend millions of dollars in on papers and putting new names. This is the bureaucrats on the top. They never talk about the people downstairs with us at the grassroots. So this work which is done now is done with the grassroots. I'm so happy to see that. I thank you. I hope you have a good time today. Okay, bye.
Friends, I just want to point out that this is truly a historical day, and that Sharan Gill has actually given the shortest speech he has ever given in his life today. Thank you, Sharan.
Yeah, these pens have lights here,
See, Sharan was just made, and one of the things you should know is Sharan was just made an honorary doctor. He just got an honorary doctorate of letters. But he's got these pens. I think you can do, you can have a sideline doing, kidney transplants and stuff. And I think that, you're a doctor, you can do this stuff, and you've got a little light at the end of your pens. You can do all sorts of surgery. That's your retirement plan. There you go. You've got the pens with the lights. So now when we have meetings with Sharan, he'll just say, open your mouth and say, I got to get out my pen. Before we go any further, I just want to mention that PICS, Progressive Intercultural Community Services, is the lead agency with the Welcoming and Inclusive Communities program. But there are a number of community partners with PICS that have worked hard to ensure the success of the program. Those groups are Collaborate Delta, Earthwise Society, the Chamber of Commerce, the School Board, the Library, Delta Assist, and who have I missed? Fraser Health. CPR, I'm so sorry I missed Fraser Health. We've all come together, and for many of us, it's the first time we've actually worked so closely together. And like Sharan said earlier, we had to practice our own diversity and our own integration, at the governance level to make this work. And I think it was a really interesting process, and with Devinder and Balkaran to keep us honest. It was great. And then we had our first coordinator was Margarita, and then now Miriam, and now Gurpreet. And I've had poor Gurpreet has had her office right beside mine at Delta Sys, so she's heard all the swearing and the yelling and the carrying on, and she's seen me leave for my golf game at 2 o'clock every afternoon. So I'm going to absolutely try to find a way to keep her on before she spreads the dirt about what really goes on at Delta Sys. I did see Robert Campbell here, and is Robert? Maybe he wandered into the wrong room. But I'm really pleased to have Kim Kendall here to bring greetings on behalf of Scott Hamilton, who is our MLA for North Delta. So Kim, would you like to come forward and bring greetings on behalf of our member of the Legislative Assembly?
So unlike Doug, I don't like to be up here, so this isn't something I normally do. So I just wanted to say again that I'm Kim Kendall. I'm with Scott Hamilton. He's the MLA in North Delta, and basically I'm his full-time assistant who deals with the constituency office in North Delta. So yeah. So Scott is sorry he's unable to be here. He's been traveling over to Victoria for the last few weeks as the legislature is in session. He's asked me to pass along his thanks for the kind invitation to the Delta Welcoming Committee Summit. Scott also asked me to share his appreciation for all the great things the Welcoming Communities program does. We all know how important immigration has been to our country and to our community. In Delta, you can see how so many different heritages have come together over the decades. There is a shared history here of making something from the land, contributing to a better society and creating a stronger future for those generations to come. Scott says he has been lucky to know members of various communities that make up our community. Delta has a bright future. Scott tells me all the time that what we do today sets the stage for success down the road. That's a message the government often has about the provincial economy, but it's also true for us as individuals, which is why the work being done by groups such as the Progress in Intercultural Society is so important. Immigration can play a vital role to the health of our economy and can really strengthen our community. But it's not easy for people who are new to a country to figure out how they can fit in and start contributing. Your organization's help has no doubt made a huge difference for many people. Programs such as yours help newcomers understand Canadian society and the opportunities we are so privileged to have. Scott's job as a representative for people in Delta takes him across the community. We've had the pleasure of meeting many groups with different cultural heritages. But no matter how different our histories seem, I'm always struck by how much we share values. Values that Scott tries to take back to Victoria. Please feel free to contact Scott or myself if you have any questions about how the provincial government can help you. And please continue to do the great work you do welcoming people to our country. We have truly helped many newcomers discover how they can help make Delta a better place for all. On behalf of Scott and myself, thank you very much for the invitation here with you guys today. It's an honor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kim. Now, we were going to, I love this, I think this is written by Miriam and Gurpreet. It says, networking activity, exclamation mark, mingle, exclamation mark, and challenge your views, exclamation mark. And then that's going to be followed by Devinder. Now Devinder, we're kind of running a wee bit late. Do you want to do, rather than networking, mingling and challenging ourselves, do you want to just move right into the introduction to the local immigration program?
Sure, we can do that and we'll move into our activity.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a quick 3 minutes. Just
Okay.
to get everybody moving.
Okay.
quickly.
Or do you want to do, why don't we just do the activity right now? Is that wonderful activity you showed me the other day?
Sure.
Oh yeah, I'd love to do that. That's really good.
So, well, this was an activity that was prepared by Gurpreet and I with the help of Jillian from the libraries. We're going to put 10 different slides up there, and then they're going to run for 5 seconds each. All we require you to do is put down the name of the country where the landmark or the individual belongs to. So the winning table will receive prizes, and we only have 3 minutes for this activity. So I'm gonna get started on the slides. It's supposed to be a fun activity, so yes. Oops, did we not leave it?
Let's see if we know the answer.
Where in the world do people immigrate from to Delta? The purpose is to, I'm just gonna go to the mic. The purpose of the activity is to pretty much test our knowledge and see how many of us are really aware about the immigrant influx into the community of Delta. So this activity will be fun. We'll see how many Deltans know about Delta. Okay, I'm gonna start in the photos now. I don't know why it's a little. It's still lights on. Better? Oh. Is it better? Can everybody see the photo? Sorry, I apologize. Didn't realize the lighting wasn't too great. So we can start an activity now. 5 seconds each.
I haven't traveled the world.
It's a group activity.
Do it as a table.
I wasn't gonna make it. Exciting one. She's a Victoria's Secret model. Oh, that was a cheat sheet. I'm glad I noticed it.
Should we do it? Why don't we run through it? Why don't we run through it one more time? Just to,
You're making it too easy, though.
We're gonna go through it again, let's try again. She's going through it again.
Gonna be quick. Doug, make sure you don't give them any ideas, because you know it.
yeah, I failed at miserably.
Good activity. Well, you guys have to be really honest. So we are gonna check the list and see if you have crossed out the wrong one and put in the right answer, because that's not going to win you any prizes here. Okay, so what have you got for number 1? Slide number 1? Any guesses? Yes? Table number 7? No, it's actually India. Well, you gotta give yourself a mark, a big mark. That's India. Gurpreet, can you explain? Yeah?
Typically, the Holi festival in India, but that's typically a picture from Varanasi, a small city from where Holi, which takes that holy spirit around. And they played with flowers there, and that picture typically depicts the widows that come and stay in the shelter homes in Varanasi, and then they celebrate their marriage to Krishna. And that's why one of them becomes Krishna and the other ladies become gopis, and then they play Holi. So it's like a pious, they are wedded to the god.
Can you show the picture we're talking about?
Sure, it's really about how diverse even India is. Like, we have diversity in Delta, but even within India, like, we only know 1 or 2 groups here, but within India there are hundreds of different groups with different cultural practices. Yeah. What about number 2?
England.
Great. Number 3?
England, Globe Theatre.
Number 3?
Taiwan?
Yep, it is Taiwan. Number 4?
Which one is that? Indonesia?
Number 4.
Thailand? Malay?
Philippines. Number 5? Number 5?
USA?
That is USA. This is a festival in Louisiana, I believe. Mardi Gras. Absolutely. Number 6?
Malaysia?
It looks like a statue in Afghanistan, but apparently it's China. Number 7? This should be easy. Fiji. Number 8? Her ethnic background. She's a Victoria's Secret model. What is
Sweden?
Germany. Balkaren. You know here. Number 9? That's right, that's Hong Kong. Number 10?
Is it Bhutan?
Close. In that region.
Nepal.
Okay, I'm just gonna give out the answer. It's Kailash in Pakistan. Yeah. So it has borders with the Nuristan province of Afghanistan, and they have a very, very different culture. And we only know the mainstream Pakistani culture, but they're part of Pakistan, and we do have some immigrants, not specifically from this region, but from all over Pakistan. But this is something that also identifies with the country. So those were the top 10 countries where we get our immigrants from in Delta. Did you have fun? Yes. Was it challenging? Yes. Okay, so, well, how many of you got 10?
I got 10 wrong.
9?
How many did we get? I think 3.
Any 9?
I got 3.
8?
How many we got?
I think we have 5.
7?
Yeah.
Table number 2 is 7? 6? Well, I guess we have our winner, table number 2. We do have some giveaways that was contributed by Pix. It's a Pix coffee mug and some chocolate. So how many of those we have? 5. All right then. Great number. Yeah. Thank you.
Jack, do you want to call it? The table.
Okay, table number 2, come on up.
Yeah.
Come on up. Don't be shy. And I
worked
think we've
for
got
it.
more Schran-Gills pens in there, do we?
We have the mugs.
Oh no, you've got the
Here.
mugs on his desk too. Yeah.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
he does get a mug. No, he swiped them from his office.
Thank you.
I have it one already. Give to somebody else.
Thank you. Thank you.
Give to somebody else. I have it.
We'll get to that.
Okay, that's it.
Chocolate.
I'm very pleased now to introduce Devinder Chata, who is the program manager with PICS, who is responsible for managing the Welcoming Inclusive Communities program, and now is going to tell us about the new LIP program.
Thank you. Thank you, Jen. Yeah, this is good to have this activity before we actually start LIP program. So we call it LIP. It's Local Immigrant Partnerships. All right, so after Welcoming Communities project that's wrapping up in end of March 31st, it was 15-month program, and we accomplished a lot of things through our partnership tables help. So we were working, newcomers feel welcome here, but the long-term residents also make them feel welcome. So it's both ways. It's not any one way only that the long-term residents have to, welcome them, but the newcomers who come here, they have to adapt themselves as well, and they need to work towards making themselves adaptable and be, more easy with living with long-term residents. So now, as the end of the project is here for WCP, and that was federal, provincially funded program, and now we are moving from province. There's a transition to federal funding, federal program. So we will have this program through CIC, Canada Citizenship and Immigration Branch. So the transition happened since last few months when we have to send a proposal back to federal government, and then there was a lot of information sessions and meetings to move Welcome Communities program to LIP program. So we just sent our last negotiation documents yesterday to CIC, and hopefully we'll finish our negotiation within the next 1 week. So we're looking at March 15, but it's around the corner. So the start of the program will be April the 1st. I didn't bring the PowerPoint. So this is the Delta LIP that we want to make Delta a very prosperous and welcoming community. And the slide number 2, I just come up with this picture from internet. It was Delta, blooming with the flowers. Wow. And there were, if we move that picture up a little bit, it really shows the people at the, okay, that's fine. That's okay. So LIP is municipal or regional coalitions designed to strengthen the local capacity and attract newcomers and improve integration outcome. And if you go on that source, which is p2pcanada.ca/LIP/, there is all the information that you can use to inform yourself of LIP program. LIPs are under CIC now as indirect services. We had direct services before through settlement programs, so we serve newcomers directly, help them with all the resources that they need, with referrals that they need, with any assistance they need with selling here. But now we, under LIP program, we are providing not direct services to newcomers, but those services are indirect. So that's why we have to struggle since last few months to show CIC that, okay, these are the activities that we are going to have under our LIP program. But they reject some of them. No, this doesn't sound like indirect, it's direct, so take it off and add indirect services So we were struggling between differentiating between direct and indirect services. So it's under Community Connections component of the settlement program. So there's a source. If you go on cic.gc.ca, you can find all the information there as well. And LIP goals are strengthening local engagement in and awareness of newcomers' integration process, supporting community level research and strategic planning. It's big on LIP project. Supporting improve coordination of support services. So source is CIC again, and Welcome BC, regional meeting presentations that we have since last few months. Survey of WCP partners. These are the key findings that we found, whatever residents or newcomers need here. So the high priority is the one that's in little brownish, and then the neutral is purple, blue, and not a priority at this time is for purple. Can you read them? Bring them closer, or we can provide copies. Can? Okay.
Do you want me to do it?
Maybe we can just, yeah.
So
I
at the
can-
top is research on local demographic data, needs and gaps. This line is community-based consultation to gather information. Number C, this one, which looks to be one of the high priorities, is improve the coordination of newcomer services at the community level. D is increase accessibility to and coordination among institutions. E, which looks like the highest priority, enhance host communities' capacity for welcoming newcomers. F, leverage funding for innovative projects. G, setting priorities and planning among key stakeholders and sectors. And the last one is H, symposia, workshops to transfer knowledge to share best practices.
Yeah, so all of them basically they are between 60 to 80% of priority. So the main focus of CIC is for us they reduce the funding so we can come up with additional sources of funding and make this project going on our own. So this project is for 2 years that they'll be giving us funding at the moment. So it's not even 1/3 of the 1 year, 15-month program that we had now under WCP. So they're reducing it drastically, but they want us to come up with additional funding from other sources. Next slide, please. And that is survey of newcomers' key findings. That maybe you can read it again, please.
Housing, health, education, language and literacy, municipal services,
Really?
environment, safety and security, volunteerism, and civic engagement.
So those are the survey of newcomers that we did, their needs, what they are looking at, but we can't help them directly now under this 2 years program. We have to come up with the community partnerships, the organizations that help newcomers. So all come together and look at the asset mapping, see what resources we have, how can we connect together with each other, and see what we have and what we need to have. So maybe it's going to end up with 5-year programs, 2-year for indirect services, doing all the research, bringing all the community organizations together, and see what the sources we already have and what we need for future. So then next 3 years would be more like, coming back from indirect to somewhat direct services. Next slide, please, Mary. So potential activities for LIP are going to be the funding leveraging, study on needs, setting priorities, have a potential to lead to innovation in the topics of interest. Integrating migrant integration to community planning is the goal of this project. Delta Local Immigrant Partnership. So LIP partners that we are going to put under LIP program is Delta LIP Partnership Council that we will be establishing in first 3 months of the program. And community partners are during our community partnership meetings, we had about 50, 60, 70 number of participants who came to give us the feedback and give us suggestions how we can make WCP program a success. So we will be depending again on community organizations to come up with that community partnerships. And then the LIP staff will be taking care of connections, networking, bringing partners on table, and doing a lot of other work like asset mapping and research as well. So goals are, again, confirm vision and goals, establish terms of reference, develop annual action plan for 2 years at first, and then sign formal agreement, and then find funding opportunities. We have to find some more opportunities that we can have funding to complete our program. Establish working groups, support research, and host a citywide forum in the end of the 2-year program. So that's all I know about LIP right now, but after we have negotiation complete and when we have the contract, then we'll know what activities are accepted by CIC and how we are supposed to proceed with that. But I know that it's going to be very challenging, but a lot of accomplishments will be achieved by the end of this program. The Delta would be more like community-based city, and it will be all communities, all community organizations working together to support newcomers or the immigrants who live here since last, even 10 years. So how to support them, not only language, housing, but with other resources that we already have. So we can connect with each other together to make Delta a welcoming community. Do you have any questions, please? Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Devinder. We're just showing just a little snippets of some of the programs that the Welcoming and Inclusive Communities Project did this year. And I'm very pleased now to invite up to the podium Mariam Arif, who has been the program coordinator for almost all of the time that the Delta Welcoming and Inclusive Communities Project has been going. So, Mariam, please come and give your presentation.
I'll try to be very brief because we are kind of running over time. Okay, so since its inception, the Welcoming Communities Program Delta has organized over 20 different events and activities, from the Newcomers Walk at the Delta Nature Park, such as the Burns Walk, the Boundary Bay and Dease Island, with over 300 in attendance, to art and heritage exhibitions where views were challenged on what diversity truly portrayed, and that was done through the medium of art by renowned local artists. We have reached Delta-wide community through our events, and our participants' ages range from 6 years old in grade 1 to seniors in their 80s from both North and Delta communities. Our activities created opportunities and spaces for engagement and dialogue, brought diverse groups together to reflect upon similarities and appreciate the beauty of our diverse community. Welcoming Communities Program not only created opportunities for the community, but also for the businesses. Several workshops were organized and expert facilitators were invited to assist our business leaders in enhancing their practices. The businesses that participated have benefited tremendously from these workshops. Apparently, the ones who haven't, we assume that they're already diversity leaders and they didn't need any further training anyhow. Our latest events, Spice Road to Delta, that were held on February 11th and 12th, nurtured bodies and souls through spices. The 2-day events were a great success. We had over 100 community members in attendance. Our participants left the event not just inspired, but also with giveaway bags full of different spices and also recipe books. Our presenters from 5 different parts of the world spoke of the significance of spices to their culture and how spices identify the commonalities that we all have. It doesn't matter which part of the world we belong to. One of our last and really exciting activities or projects involve elementary and high school students from the Delta School District. It's the photo essay contest that encourages students to share experiences and stories from their community. Through photos, students are encouraged to foster dialogue on what welcomeness means for students, to encourage acceptance of differences and facilitate integration, and to also raise awareness of the challenges of new students, and also to explore what it means to feel at home in Delta. At this time, I would like to request Aaron Primus from the Delta School District to share with us what the photo essay contest experience has been like for the students and the schools, and run us through some more details around the activity. Erin is the Vice Principal at Chalmers Elementary School, where she's committed to encourage lifelong learning and open communication in an inclusive, caring, and respectful environment. Thank you for coming, Erin, and I'll have you.
Hi, I'm Erin Primus, and I am the Vice Principal at Chalmers, and I also one day became the Swiss coordinator. So my amazing team of Swiss workers is quickly getting me into shape, and our coordinator, Satnam Jal, had to be away, so I get to be here today. So I'm very excited. I guess the expression is his loss is my gain.
Yep.
So, yay! Through My Eyes is a program that kids have been doing through our schools, where they are taking pictures and then putting words to their picture, explaining how they feel in our school district. Satnam was very sad to be away, and he came and met with me for 45 minutes and then sent me an email. So I'm gonna just cover his points because it's really exciting. We hope to get about 4 classes to be involved, but instead there are 10 so far. So we have moved back the deadline because more and more teachers are wanting to participate. So as soon as the website's up, we're going to get that out, and Miriam's going to give the information to all of you. So I've had the opportunity to see a few of the photo essays. They are comprised of 7 slides where students write blurbs about how they are connecting to Delta, and then the idea is that other kids will be able to view these 7 slides and see how they can compare. So it's a compare and contrast. So it's called Through My Eyes, and it celebrates diversity in Delta through the eyes of new and students who are not new. So then that's where the comparisons come in. The project provides students with the opportunity to examine and share unique elements of their own lives, while at the same time they get to explore a deeper understanding of how other students are fitting into Delta. Students are participating by creating 5 to 7 photos, and then they get to also use different languages to capture what that photo means to them. So I saw one this morning about a boy who was going to play soccer. So he had his shoes, and then the next picture was 2 minutes later, it was at soccer practice, and then in brackets, 2 minutes is such a long time, because he was so excited. So they're amazing. So 10 classrooms so far have started participating. 4 of these have completed their work and have been uploading their pictures for submission. At this point, we have organized almost 400 pictures, and we'll be continuing this work. We've advised teachers that they're welcome to continue their submissions because we're gaining momentum and more people are getting excited. The current sense is that this initiative will be able to be fine-tuned and continue in future years with more and more students being able to participate. The feedback this far has pointed to different connections that can be used for cultural units in social studies and also the heritage fairs in the coming school years. Teachers have appreciated the supportive lessons on the website, and which is all through Delta Learns, and the essays, and they found that they're taking a little bit longer with technical difficulties, hence moving the deadline back. So the next steps will be hosting and organizing the pictures and collecting more and more essays. We'll be posting the link as soon as it's ready, and we're hoping that will be after spring break. So the initiative continues to have much promise, and it's very exciting to be able to include all of our newcomers. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Erin.
Yes, yeah, we'll have the link out.
Aside these wonderful events, the program has conducted research around newcomers' needs and other surveys that reflect upon the challenges and experiences of newcomers and also the gaps that need to be addressed in the municipality of Delta. Ann Peterson will be sharing the research reports with all of us shortly, and you'll all walk away with a print copy of the research findings. I believe you already have them on your tables. And at this time, I would like to call upon Ann Peterson to come up and share some of the findings with us. Ann is the consultant and contract manager for the Delta Welcoming Communities program. She's a former counselor with the Delta Council. She was first elected to council in 2008. Ann has degrees from UBC and SFU in the social sciences and is a lifelong advocate for communities. Ann is the liaison member or chair of numerous local and regional committees and commissions. She's a 16, actually 17, I was told
This month.
yesterday.
This
She's a 17-year resident of Delta with her husband and 2 daughters. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you, Marion. Doug, how many minutes do I have before people will start rioting because they're hungry?
You know, I don't know. The food is already here.
All right, page 1. So actually, putting me just before lunch does require me to get crunchy, and if people know me, they know I like things crunchy to the numbers. So what I'm not even going to take the 10 minutes because I'm going to be fair. Nobody's going to want me to list off a whole whack of data. I will pick out a couple of highlights that are in this. This is by and large complete. What is missing is the fabulous work done by the school district in terms of the photo essay. Once I have that data, that'll go in, and the feedback that you will all be providing in the breakout sessions this afternoon. And underlying the breakout sessions, I'm hoping that you will let us know whether or not we got it right. Are we on the right track? Are we getting a fulsome sense of the relationship between integrating newcomers and a welcoming Delta environment? So just to put some of that into perspective, I took 20 years of census data and crunched it down into as few pages as I could by collapsing things into tables and some illustrative graphs. It's kind of like comparing a Newton apple to a Golden Delicious apple. Same species, but not quite exactly the same produce because categories changed from census to census and from source to source depending on what their priorities were for collecting the data. So by and large, I collapsed it to a point where at least we get an understanding of the numbers and an understanding of the trends and an understanding of the settlement patterns. So that said, the context is in Canada as of 2011, 1 in 5 are foreign born. That means they were born somewhere else and came here in the last however many years of their life. I'm one of them, by the way. So just to dispel the illusion that immigrants are coming from, you know, always India or Philippines. There's a lot of newcomers and immigrants who come from England, Europe, and the United States. So we run the gamut. Immigrants run the gamut. Pick a country, somebody is an immigrant from that country in Canada today. So of those immigrants, about 17% are newcomers, which means they arrived within the last 10 years or so. And about 2% of the newcomers to the lower mainland came to Delta. So in Delta, we have approximately 100,000 people or take. Pick a census source and it'll fluctuate between 98 and 101,000. Again, where I could, I sourced everything and explained where the disparities are. So in Appendix A, if you really want to get into the crunchy data, it's all there. Anything and everything I could find is there. So in Delta, over 28,500 are immigrants. And of those, between 3,000 to 4,000 newcomers arrive in Delta for each census period, which roughly averages to about 1,000, just under 1,000 newcomers per year. So that kind of gives you a context in terms of the numbers. And of the 28,500, nearly 12,000 still speak their mother tongue at home. So whether or not they have English proficiency is not really measurable, but if they're still speaking mother tongues at home, they're not practicing English in a consistent and continual way. So these are things to consider. The settlement patterning of immigrants and newcomers reveal distinct differences in where they choose to live in Delta. Those from India, China, Taiwan, and the Philippines tend to settle in North Delta substantially. And again, if you want to go into the Appendix A, you can get all that crunchy data. Those who are from United Kingdom, United States, and European countries tend to settle in South Delta. The number of newcomers speaking a mother tongue, not English, not French, in South Delta is under 500. So if of those 12,000 who are speaking another language, most are in North Delta. In recognition of this, most of the services for newcomers are located in North Delta. The exception being the Swiss workers, who are fabulous. One of the strongest and most sustainable program in Delta is endemic throughout the schools. So wherever there is a newcomer family, I imagine, Hemi, you can tell me, they would be there. And that is great service. The other settlement services in Delta are specific settlement, some language, and some employment. And these are provided by PICS primarily, Options, Success, and a couple of other agencies. But they're provided through host agencies. In other words, they do not have a specific facility for settlement program service provision. They rely on partnering with the George Mackey Library, the libraries, which are a fabulous resource, Delta Assist, who provides programming and office space, the Boys and Girls Club as well, especially the 88th Street facility. These programs that reach out to newcomers are here and there, and in my assessment, and people can argue with me on this, they are vulnerable. These programs are vulnerable. They're vulnerable because of the funding transitions that can occur. If the priorities of the agency that resides outside Delta change, if their resources and capacity change, would they then be able to provide workers and programs into an area where they don't have a solid facility from which to provide these services? So that's an issue. And I take for an example in terms of the funding vulnerability, just to explain it. As Devinder indicated, we're switching from a provincially funded model through the Welcome BC and the Ministry of Jobs, whatnot, who's it and thingy, it changes, to the CIC model of direct funding. Kwantlen University, who provides a lot of language training, has now lost their funding and had to lay off, and I believe it was up to 13 workers in order to provide that kind of language training for immigrants and newcomers wanting to raise the level of their language to a point where it's almost indistinguishable and would not present a barrier to employment. That is a warning bell in terms of how vulnerable these programs are to funding priority changes. So we want to ensure that our newcomers access what they need close to or within the boundaries of Delta. And we want to ensure that they know where these programs are, that the programs are sustainable, that they are consistent, that they are predictable. PICS is doing an amazing job in reaching out, as is Options. I think I saw Connie, and a few others, and they're doing their best. But they can't determine from the federal level where their funding is going to come from contract to contract. So this is a concern, and this puts the impetus now on our community organizations to help figure out where they can assist in bringing in settlement workers, bringing in the kind of resources that newcomers will require in their first 2, 3, 4 years of settlement, so that they can develop a sense of belonging in their new home. All the information is in here, and like I said, what we've gathered today, and with the addition of the school numbers, I love numbers, will be added in, and I'll make a monster PDF file which will be available after the end of the project, which is March 31st. But by and large, the information as we have gathered is here. So that is that. If you have a question. When's lunch? Is that's the question? So, Doug, over
Great.
to you.
Thank you, Anne. Thanks very much. I think one of the legacies of the program is the collection of data and really understanding the community much better in terms of the numbers. And we've called this up to now Delta by the Numbers, and it really is going to be extremely useful to all of us in the way that we plan, in the way that we understand our community, in which all of us either have our business and practice our work. The two, just picking up what Miriam was saying earlier, the two sort of images that stay with me about the special events that the Welcoming Inclusive Community did was, the first one was when we had a art show up at the fire hall on 84th one night, and I came in, and the tableau player was a red-haired Scot. It was no, the tableau player was the sitar player. Yeah, was a red-haired Scot, and then which I thought was totally cool. And then when we did the Boundary Bay day at the beach, we had a family there that had just arrived the day before from overseas, and I thought, what a wonderful way of welcoming this family to this community with like a couple of hundred of their best friends. And I think that at a very, very personal level, the program did a remarkable job of creating space for newcomers to this community. But enough of that. I'm sure you all want to have some of this wonderful food that's smelling so great. I don't know how this is like a wedding, right? Great. Okay, which table will go first? Well, the bride and groom. Oh, the bride, no bridal party. So, who should go first? Who would like to go first?
One.
Sepia, table one should go first, and then everybody else. Let's go. Table one will go first, and like true Canadians, we'll all take our turn. Table two, and etc. etc. etc.
Because there's two sides.
Thinking about taking up rollerblading because it's just something that keeps coming into my mind. But also I have a child that she keeps pulling at me, so I'm not walking past that. So I thought if I put out her rollerblading car, perhaps maybe other options are like that now.
Okay. The first group is Delta Treasures, Health and Leisure. And it's going to be facilitated by Patricia and Gurpreet, and it'll be at table 1. So table 1 is going to be Delta Treasures, Health and Leisure. Table 1. I don't need a microphone. Table 2 is going to be the arts, and the facilitators. Oh, Curtis, you're right there anyway. Curtis and Miriam are going to do the arts right here. Number 2, the arts. Okay. Table number 3 is welcoming inclusive businesses and workplaces, and Sepia and Anne are going to facilitate that. Okay, it'll be right here. Welcoming inclusive businesses and workplaces. And the 4th one is facilitated by myself and Aaron, and it's engaging youth in Delta. And it'll be at table number 4. So meander over to the table that you think is the one where most of your interest is, and Come, table 4 will be best. Done. The other, let's come and have a chance now. Miriam. Okay, Miriam, we want to have the conversation to be transcribed. So you're putting out pieces of paper, and we can all use Sharan's pens
Or we have markers.
or markers.
If you want to keep the pens as a souvenir.
Yeah, or do pancreatic transfers with those things because they got lights at the end, and they're sharp pens. So find your table, and then we're going to go for how long? About an hour?
1:30.
Yeah, so about an hour. From 1:30 to 2:30, about an hour, and then we'll regather. Okay, and we want to designate each group to have a scribe.
You can't have everyone. You cannot have everybody in your table.
Youth is an important topic.
Okay, we only have one person for the art table so far. If somebody else is interested in exploring more, they can switch.
Thanks to any of them. Well, you know how busy it is in North Dublin? Yeah, how busy the traffic is to get out of your house to go.
As you mentioned earlier, I think when we actually see the word immigrant, the first picture that comes to our mind is somebody.
If it's a good neighborhood or a beach, yeah, we're finding that a lot.
Let's every group had a scribe. So can we start with group 1? And I don't know, Patricia, were you the scribe of that group? And what was the name of your group?
Delta Treasures.
Delta Treasures, okay. Want to walk us through your discussion?
No, I'll stand up. I don't need to take the podium. I'll stand up so everyone can hear me. So we took a look at the questions that were asked, and we started to look at Delta Treasures. So the purpose of this was to get people outdoors. There were a number of different walks that were arranged, one in North Dublin, one in Ladner, and one in Wasson at Boundary Day. And the whole point of it was just to get people out walking, doing physical activity, connecting with the outdoors, and also getting an idea of what is available in Delta. What are some places to visit with your family, and what are some things you can do. So we first took a look at what these types of activities contribute in terms of making Delta a more welcoming and inclusive place to be. And we felt that it was just important as a starting point just to get people outdoors. And we discussed the fact that in different cultures, everybody experiences nature in a slightly different way. We have a certain cultural perception of nature, and that it's a sharing activity. If we can get people of different cultures together doing something that we all have in common, like experiencing nature, then it is a very good activity to tie people together. We also thought that one of the good things about these types of activities was that it was very, it was quite engaging. It was accessible in the sense that a lot of people, it doesn't take high levels of skill or anything like that. It just takes a pair of running shoes and a dry day, I guess, and the ability to go outside. It also opens the door to sharing knowledge, amongst cultures. So someone on the walk may know about birds, and someone else might know about ocean life, and somebody else may, have other types of perceptions about the outdoors and about what they experience. So it provides that kind of sharing of knowledge. It's also intergenerational. People could come with children and the grandparents, and provided a great opportunity for just interacting with other people. We then started to look at possible trends as far as using this kind of thing, the idea of getting people outdoors and experiencing nature. So we looked at what are some of the trends that might affect that.
One of the things we talked about was soccer, and apparently soccer is, well, it is something that's popular worldwide, but it's also something that's increasingly popular in our own communities, and more people are playing soccer, and that's a potential trend or potential opportunity to draw people together. Another thing we talked about was growing food, and there is an interest in, amongst many sectors, in just growing your own food. And that's another type of activity that gets people outdoors, it gets people doing things that are healthy, it gets people sharing ideas and knowledge and experience across cultures, across generations. And we also talked a little bit too about the fact that many young people these days, I shouldn't even say the word young people, let's face it, many of us these days are very plugged into our technology, which is in some ways just the opposite of being connected to nature. We're inward focused, we sit there in our cars and or in our apartments talking to people across the world, but we're not actually outside engaging with people, we're not engaging with the world around us. And so these types of activities, getting people outside, might be a way to make those connections. And might also be something to be aware of in trying to get people interested, that maybe some people don't even think that's important. Some of the issues that we came up with, and we sort of moved down to the implications of these types of things. Some of the issues we talked about were just in order to expand these programs or to increase these types of programs, there's always the question of infrastructure, supports, costs, how to get more people out. And so that was something that we talked about. How we can promote partnerships, because that does seem to be a very successful way of getting people out and getting them active. The implications of these types of programs, we did think that would lead to healthier families, greater connections between cultures and between generations. And possibly also opportunities to integrate language, because one of the things I know that Anne talked about in her presentation was that language is a barrier for many of our newcomers. And if you're out on a walk, you can enjoy the companionship, and you can communicate in other ways and learn simple connections through common language, exploring common language. And then finally, we looked at some strategies for integrating these kinds of programs into a future service. One of the things that we talked about again was providing supports for new partnerships, identifying new partnerships to help make these types of activities very accessible, keeping costs down.
For the first question, how did these activities contribute to making Delta a more welcoming community? We felt that it gave people a lot of opportunities to experiment with flavors and foods from other cultures that they might be intimidated to try otherwise. They might not want to put the money into buying it and trying to cook it at home. They might want to not go into a restaurant and have to deal with pronunciation or language barriers. But you could come and just try all kinds of different things in this environment where it was open and free. And then we sort of got to the larger issue of food being a way to bridge gaps and barriers, where you may have somebody move into your community and there's a language barrier, but if you bake a loaf of bread and walk it over and give it to them, you've made that connection, you've done the icebreaker, and you may have a dish come back next week, and you're starting this relationship with people, but you've never actually said a word. We also talk about how there's also a responsibility of Delta residents to make the first move and do the icebreaker there, that you can't wait for the newcomer to the community to come say hi. You have to say hi, you have to wave, you have to smile, you have to say hello, even if it's not in the right language. And when you do make those connections, remember someone's name. It's hard enough in your own language to remember a name, but when it's from another culture and you have none of this background to put it into, you don't even know how we would spell that name. It's such a meaningful thing to learn someone's name and then say it back to them. And even if you have to keep a note on the inside of your fridge of all who your neighbors are, that was a tip. So for identifying trends and issues that have changed, one of the things that we came with the big conversation was that not all brown people are Punjabi. Not all Asian people are Chinese. I know, amazing breakthrough. But to explain that and promote that and talk about how just within Canada, someone from Vancouver probably has a language barrier over someone from Newfoundland. Well, people within India can have very different ideas and religions and life experiences and traditions and artistic ways of expressing themselves. So we need to sort of communicate that within the Delta community and within those communities and celebrate the differences. And we also found that the art can be a way for people to communicate their cultural history, but also their personal history and their personal experiences. So if you're a refugee from Canada and you've come from a country that was under war or you were persecuted, you may have seen some very terrible, horrible things in your past that you do not want to talk about. But in the solitude of your studio, you can put it into your artwork. Your artwork can express that. That can be what goes on display in the public that all of your neighbors can see, but then you don't have to sort of relive it every time you tell the story. So they can break those kind of really personal barriers and traumatic things. But you can also use it to celebrate the entire history of your culture if you're working on established traditions that way too. For number 3, about the implications, positive and negative, we did bring up that there were some people when we did the arts that challenged us. And is this really an efficient use of taxpayers' dollars? Are you forcing multiculturalism and different cultures on this community? And I think those are challenges that we're always going to get with no matter what program. There's always going to be those people that are questioning. We thought there is a way to turn that into an opportunity that, well, you've come up and you've challenged me and now we're talking and we have that dialogue, whereas you clearly aren't supportive of this, so we weren't going to get you anyways, but now you're here and we're talking, and that's important and a win in itself. For the positive, we thought it starts all kinds of dialogues with all kinds of people who come, no matter whether they just want to try some free food for the night or experience the art. It can challenge stereotypes that people have about other communities or their own community or themselves. It lets us celebrate the successes of immigrants. So in sort of the example of somebody who is a refugee, they can take some of their pain or frustrations and put it into their art and turn it a negative into a positive and then go out and express that in the community. And then for number 4, strategies for future programs. We thought the Spice Road to Delta was very successful, and food, people love free food. We all came for the lunch, right? So to continue, if that's successful, give them what they want, right? It's also that we can keep working together. This is a great collaboration and a way for different groups to come together, and we should continue that. Some of the ideas that we had were to start promoting the programs in multiple languages. So not just addressing English speakers or people who have learned English, but if you're new to Canada and English isn't your strongest point, to still know that these events are going on, that you can see your poster in Mandarin or Cantonese or Hindi or Punjabi or Urdu or all that. Now we need a really big budget for translators, but and then sort of maybe expanding into foreign film festivals, where we can bring in films from other countries, where the dialogue is in a native language for a group, but there are subtitles, so everyone else can then come and enjoy and watch the film together and talk about it at the end, because you've had this shared cultural experience that isn't necessarily Western in its roots, and those kind of things can come up. So, is there anything else?
Awesome. Very good.
Thanks so much. Now, we are going to be collecting up all of these notes and compiling them, right, and posting them. Okay, and this group, which was?
Welcoming and inclusive businesses and workplaces.
We've got a good contingent of Van City people in there.
They're fabulous.
So welcoming.
They're fabulous. This was a challenging topic because, with the exception of our fabulous Van City folk, the rest are with nonprofits or human services provision. So how then to figure out and make recommendations to engage the business community and the business associations in a much more meaningful, much more powerful way. I don't think there was a topic we didn't cover trying to get there. So lots of notes, lots of ideas, lots of discussion, and lots of me reminding people it's about businesses, not about everything else. I was the wet blanket. There are several key I'm ignoring the 4 questions because I think we did. There are, despite CPA's challenge to get us there, there are several strategies that I think will definitely work for moving forward and is worth considering for the LIT partners to work forward with. First of all, strengthen our relationship with the business associations, such as the Delta Chamber of Commerce. Really, really find a way of encouraging, fostering that relationship and getting them on board so that any future diversity workshops or some of the workshops that we had 3 really good workshops, have them as a platform in order to implement that program or those workshops, using and leveraging their networks, their name within the community to encourage businesses to engage in that way. As Balcarin rightly pointed out, what is the carrot for businesses? What would make sense for businesses to consider diversity or cultural sensitivity training or cross-cultural understandings? What is the carrot? What, especially for medium and smaller businesses, what would make sense to these businesses that are, operating right on the line themselves? What would make sense for them to consider engaging with your fabulous employment services and making that connection between skills and service and experiences that are coming into the country and the skills and experiences that they actually need in order to get the business done. So we need to define that a little bit better for businesses, make that equation work for them, and build relationships with businesses. We had a number of businesses did engage with WCP, did come to the workshops, and like our fabulous Van City people, build on that. Start with those relationships, start with those connections, keep them engaged, and then ask them to bring a friend, basically, but develop those networks and grow it on a one-to-one basis. And in that relationship building, we'll find out a little bit more about what it would take, what it is that they need, how to make that relationship work so that newcomers and immigrants are integrating into our community economically as well as in a very community sense. And I think the last one is the elephant in the room discussion that we had, and it is actually a vital one. Over the past few years, for whatever reason, the term immigrant has taken on this gloss. It's become a code word for the colored other. So we need to challenge that where it comes up as a potential barrier. And we talked about several examples where the assumption of immigrant came fully packed with not English speaking, not fully skilled or certified in Canada. And we talked about ways of gently and encouragingly challenging this gloss of immigrant. And let's just talk about people at a one-on-one level, at an individual level. Let's talk about getting to know each other. And I love that idea of the loaf of bread, because that example came up here. What was it that you were cooking and you took to your neighbor?
Oh, parathas.
Parathas. And same thing, I have open houses every once in a while, and my neighbor brought in the best Indian food. It was fabulous. He had a supplier on Main Street, but that was his contribution to the barbecue, right? It's like, give me that name of that supplier. But it is that reciprocity, that one-on-one. Well, that works as well in a business setting. Encouraging business employers to get to know people of a diverse background and understanding that we don't have to shortcut by using stereotypes. So we did talk about that. We talked about it in depth. But it is something to consider. We need to be careful that when we're barreling forward, that we're not sidestepping that all-important issue of labeling, of stereotyping, of presenting subliminal barriers based on assumptions that may or may not be true. Let's develop those relationships in a realistic manner. So, anything else? Because we did talk about a lot of things.
Yeah, just to add, I think even though this was not primarily a business group, but I think we were talking about business and organizations too.
Yeah.
So not to discount what the brilliant ideas came out of this group. I think
I
there
wrote
were
them down.
some great points made regardless of where you are from. So thank you very much. I really appreciate all the points. And it certainly was a learning experience for us to understand what's happening in the different sectors. So.
Yeah. Because in our dialogues, 3 key themes kept coming up and again and again and again. And then one was the intercultural events were very successful in developing relationships and developing a one-on-one conversation. Getting the employers on board was key to integration, but the biggest challenge. And the third one, which I know, I'm now throwing it back to you, Doug, is the importance of the youth and children and why that is a priority, because where children go, families go too. Back
What
to
a
you.
wonderful segue.
Yeah.
Thank you. Lauren, can I call on you to present? No, you can. Good enough for me.
I think that we also, it sounds like every table had fantastic conversation this afternoon, and we also took all of our backgrounds and combined it to talk about all the great things we're already doing in this community. And I was just thinking, if we get the cat out of the bag, we'll have all the people moving to Delta, because we have such a great team here. So that would be a good problem for us. So as we just said, we were focusing on engaging youth in Delta. So I am the educator, hence I love happy faces. You'll see them all the time. Feel free to jump in. We had kind of didn't focus on questions, but just started on a lot of things that we've noticed that are working really well amongst the youth and things that we can continue. I think it sort of started with kids always want immediate results, and especially with with technology and all of the things off the internet, that they don't realize how much of a progress they've already made in schools, building friendships, building relationships. So we're just trying to keep the traction moving forward. So we want to celebrate all qualities of people who are contributing into school systems. We want kids, youth to feel safe and realize that they do belong. But how can we get that out of them and into sort of how they can share and feel a connection? Oh, great. The next one, how they can make connections. We want to make sure everyone of all cultures feel welcome. I just actually spent a week in Quebec City. So I was born in Canada, but I felt like I I found a lot of traditional Canadian culture values there that I hadn't seen for a while. Like, we went to Carnival and they had people just out on cross-country skis, just skiing around. Yeah, it's really unique that we have such a great culturally diverse and rich country. So they're speaking in French, obviously, and I was like, oui! And I would move forward hoping that I was doing the right thing. So my grade 7 students loved it. They took advantage of me all week, but it's good. Community integrations, so respecting everyone's points of view. We want to make sure everyone's working together. And then with youth, it's always tricky because you need it to be age appropriate. So if you're focusing, something from K to 3 age versus grade 7 to 9 age, so how can we make things age appropriate? We had a good discussion about how kids worry about failing or being fearful. So how do we find that they can be successful after they've made a mistake or feel like they've done something culturally inappropriate? Like we had some examples of using the wrong vocabulary, like for backpack, or slang that's used in certain, like not bad slang, but just little lingo that the kids might use incorrectly, and then someone laughs at them. So just skills on how to cope. So making mistakes doesn't necessarily need to be a bad thing, but how do you move forward from that? So I just read a book about how a lot of very successful entrepreneurs have had some sort of bad job, like they got fired, and then they move forward from that in order to make themselves more successful. So adversity doesn't have to be the end of the world. Role models and mentors. So how can we keep encouraging people to step forward and develop leaders within every category of society? We want to create more and more opportunities so that youth can drive forward ideas and sessions. And the famine, so schools are running famines, and all kids are expected to show their own leadership at those events. So if we could start finding more events where every person who's there is contributing in their own unique way. We want to focus also on strength-based learning and sharing, and the difference between consequences and punishment. So creating trust and showcasing and sharing personal history, which I think part of the Through My Eyes website will help. Would anyone like to add anything? Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Erin. Thank you very much. It sounds like all the groups had very, very rich discussions. And what we're going to do, as I said earlier, we're going to transcribe all of these things, all of the notes, and put them into our on some kind of report or website. Now, I just wanted to ask that we stay, because we do have a couple more things we have to do, that we want to do. I think Devinder, where's Devinder? There you are. Hi, Devinder. Do you want to talk a bit about sort of finishing things off, wrapping things up, and then we have some presentations to make. Okay, thank you. Brenda Chada, who is the coordinator of the Welcoming Inclusive Community Program. Thanks.
All right. Well, that was great. Everybody participated so actively, and there was so much energy in each group. I appreciate it. Okay, before we end today's event, I would like to formally appreciate our partners, steering committee members, and community partners for participating in meetings on community consultations, steering committee meetings to plan events and discuss progress of the project, and address any issues or challenges that we faced during over 15 months of running the project. Okay, let me start with Delta Assist, Family and Community Services Executive Director, Doug Severin, for participating actively in all meetings and providing his expert feedback and supervision and space at Delta Assist for the project. Doug, will you please come here?
Sit. Stay.
Thank you.
Hey.
Thank you.
Fraser Valley Regional Library Manager Jillian McLeod for participating actively in all meetings, giving her expert feedback, and for providing free venue for many of our events and community partners meetings. Jillian is not here, so.
I don't know if I want to give you that. You might.
Delta School District number 37, District Vice Principals, Special Programs Adnam Chahal for actively participating in many of steering committee meetings, engaging his staff in project events, and sharing youth events with our project, and involving Hamid and Noah Imtiaj in our walks for Boundary Way Walk and for Burns Walk, and Dala Lee. So who is here for? Okay, here. Would you like to come here, please? All of you. All of you. Come here.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm not giving these a second, just in case anyone is wondering.
Hamid, can you please come? Hamid,
Hamid, no.
Hamid? Yeah, right there. And Imtiaj. Imtiaj and Dala, please. For our walks and events, we used to bring hundreds and hundreds of students and newcomers.
Parents.
Okay, and Fraser Health Community Health Specialist Delta, Sibia Sharma, she just left.
Just left, yeah.
For participating actively in all of our steering committee meetings and giving her expert advice and feedback to our project for making the project a success. So she just left. Yeah. And our consultant and researcher at Praxis Point, Ann Peterson, for doing a great job at bringing all partners together for meetings, organizing meetings, doing her job at research and asset mapping and consultation. Thank you. Next is Earthwise Society. Patricia Fleming joined the group late in the project, but participated in meetings actively and provided a venue for our first Heritage Art and Exhibition event. Thank you. Okay, now,
I just want to add the weather.
Oh,
John?
Miriam, come here.
This is for both of them.
Is it a good one? You cleared?
Okay, last but not the least, our program staff, program coordinator, Miriam. Margita, who had to leave early to settle in the United Kingdom, she moved to England, who did a fantastic job in her short stay with us. Miriam, Arif, current coordinator and event organizer, Gurpreet Kaur. They have done an amazing job of achieving all given goals of the project and also have accomplished the goal of bringing Delta communities together. And making the theme of integration is two-way street. To have Delta residents to welcome newcomers in Delta and having newcomers adapt to the culture and ways of Delta residents to feel welcome. The big thanks go to our community partners, all of you, who continue to participate in our community partners meetings provided wonderful feedback to all WCP activities. We like to continue working with you, and we would like to achieve our goals under LIP program that will benefit all of us to come to a common platform of community linkage through a new research to make Delta a welcoming place to live. We welcome all new and existing partnerships for LIP program that's starting on April the 1st. When cities, school districts, nonprofit organizations, private and public organizations, we all want to come together. First Nations, Gail is here. Thank you so much. And for doing a wonderful prayer in the morning. Ruth, thank you, all of you. Sorry, I might have missed many of you, but as together, to all community partners, thank you so much for accompanying us through this long walk of 15 months. And I appreciate our volunteers, Modi. He's always there for all community events that we do for our programs. Thank you, Modi. And for Jiwala, who was here, did he leave? And
he had to leave.
Sorry?
He had to leave.
He had to leave, okay. So he was here to work as a volunteer as well. To our videographer. Thank you so much. And thank you, Doug, for emceeing this morning, all day. You are a good public speaker. And please, before you go, don't forget to fill this evaluation form. And again, thank you so much, all of you. Have a good evening. One last thing, blast from the past. This is going to be our fundraising event for multicultural long-term care of home. Guest speaker is going to be Wally Opal. There will be entertainment, dinner, silent auctions. And it's on Sunday, March the 22nd. Doors open at 6:30 at Royal King Palace at Pyle Business Center. And I hope that you can make it that day. Thank you one more time. Thanks.
Can I please have you for another 5 minutes? We have a few draws. Well, surprise. We have some wonderful prizes to give away. And I personally wanted to acknowledge Gurpreet Kaur's hard work throughout the program. From the beginning, she has been active in organizing wonderful events, and I personally am thankful for her assistance. And I know it's very small, but Doug and I wanted to surprise Gurpreet. It was a surprise. It was in my laptop bag. The bag kind of ripped apart. So I'm going to be very careful in handing this out to you. So thank you so much. And finally, the draws. That will be the last part, I promise.
Okay, this is the first one. Dallin Lee? Dallin Lee?
Dallin Lee? Come on now.
Ron Cullen.
He doesn't get one.
Yeah.
Joking. Dalla?
Yeah. Come. Tom Siva.
So again, the mugs were donated by Progressive Intercultural Society, and we have got a Tim Hortons card for your morning coffee. Okay. Thank you so much for coming. Again, please don't forget the evaluation forms, and thank you for coming. It was a wonderful event, and having all of you here and having your feedback. So have a great afternoon, and
Thank you.
You may go.